The Thunderstrike raced toward the massive Zephyrian flagship. Captain Jake Morrison gripped his chair as enemy fire filled the space around them. The ship shook with each near miss, but Emma Stone kept them on course with expert flying. 30 seconds to target, Ryan Hughes announced. His hands were steady on the weapon controls despite the chaos around them. Planet killer weapon at 95% charge. Jake could see the enormous enemy ship growing larger on the main screen. It was 10 times bigger than the Thunderstrike, covered in weapons and armor. But underneath the massive planet killer gun, there was a small section that looked different from the rest. There, Jake pointed. That's our target. Katie was right. The power core is exposed. I see it, Ryan said. Locking on now. Admiral Vexithera's voice crackled over the communication system. Foolish human, you fly to your death. In 30 seconds, my weapon will fire and destroy this entire star system. Jake opened a channel to all ships in the area. All rebel fleets, get as far away as possible. If we fail, you need to survive to continue the fight. Negative, human captain, came the reply from Commander Erix of the Alterian Navy. We stand together. If you fail, we all fail. Jake felt proud but also worried. If the planet killer weapon fired, thousands of rebel ships would be destroyed along with his own. 15 seconds to target, Ryan reported. Planet killer at 98%. The Thunderstrike dove under the flagship's massive hull. Zephyrian gunners tried to track the small human ship, but it was moving too fast. Energy beams cut through space behind them, missing by meters. 10 seconds, Ryan said. I have a perfect lock on the target. Fire, Jake ordered. Both modified torpedoes shot out from the Thunderstrike. The weapons were glowing with radioactive energy from the asteroid material Tony Evans's teams had collected. They streaked toward the small exposed section under the planet killer gun. Time seemed to slow down. Jake watched the torpedoes race toward their target while the planet killer weapon reached 100% charge. It was going to be close. The first torpedo hit the flagship's power core. There was a bright flash as the radioactive material spread through the ship's energy systems. Alarms began blaring on the enemy vessel as power fluctuations spread throughout its hull. The second torpedo hit a moment later. This time, the explosion was much bigger. The radioactive energy had weakened the ship's defenses, and the second blast tore through multiple decks. Direct hits, Ryan announced with satisfaction. On the main screen, they could see the Zephyrian flagship beginning to shake. Explosions bloomed along its hull as power systems failed. The planet killer weapon, which had been about to fire, suddenly went dark. Admiral Vexithara appeared on screen one last time. Her bridge was filled with smoke and sparks. She looked shocked and defeated. Impossible, she whispered. 1,000 years of empire, destroyed by one small ship. Your empire was built on fear and cruelty, Jake replied. It was always going, to fall eventually. We just helped it happen sooner. The Admiral's ship exploded in a ball of white fire. The blast was so bright that the main screen had to dim to protect everyone's eyes. When the light faded, the massive flagship was gone. Enemy flagship destroyed, Chris Miller confirmed from his sensor station. The explosion took out 50 other Zephyrian ships that were too close. Jake felt relief wash over him. But the battle was not over yet. There were still thousands of enemy ships in the star system. Captain, we're receiving transmissions from all over the Zephyrian fleet, Amy Brooks announced. Multiple ships are requesting permission to surrender. Put the senior commander through, Jake ordered. A new alien face appeared on screen. This Zephyrian looked older than Admiral Vexthera, with scars across his gray skin. When he spoke, his voice was tired and defeated. Human Captain, I am Admiral Korath, now Senior Commander of the Imperial Fleet. Admiral Vexthera is dead. Our flagship is destroyed. We request terms of surrender. Jake could hardly believe what he was hearing. The entire Zephyrian fleet was surrendering to his single ship. What about your empire? Jake asked. Will your government accept surrender? Admiral. Korath looked away for a moment. Captain, the Empire is falling apart. Rebellions have broken out on over 200 worlds. Half our fleet has mutinied. The Imperial Council is arguing among themselves. Some want to keep fighting, but others want peace. Then let me speak to your council, Jake said. 20 minutes later, Jake found himself talking to the rulers of the Zephyrian Empire. The alien leaders appeared on screen from their capital world. They looked frightened and confused. Their 1,000-year empire was crumbling around them. Humans, said the leader, an ancient Zephyrian with white skin and clouded eyes. You have destroyed everything we built. Why do you fight so hard? Because freedom is worth fighting for, Jake replied. Your empire enslaved innocent people. You killed families and destroyed peaceful worlds. Someone had to stop you. But how? Another council member asked. One ship against our entire military. It should have been impossible. Jake thought about his answer carefully. You're right. One ship should not have been able to defeat your empire. But we were never really fighting alone. Every species you conquered was waiting for someone to show them that resistance was possible. We just lit the spark. The council members talked among themselves in their own language. Finally, the leader spoke again. We surrender unconditionally. The Zephyrian Empire officially ends today. We will release all conquered species and allow them to govern themselves. Jake felt amazement and joy. They had actually won. One human ship had brought down an entire galactic empire. There's one more thing, Jake said. The human colonies you destroyed. The families you killed. That can never be forgotten. We understand, the leader replied sadly. We will pay reparations to humanity and help rebuild what we destroyed. It is the least we can do. 6 months later, Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the rebuilt Thunderstrike. The ship had been repaired and upgraded, but more importantly, it had become a symbol of hope throughout the galaxy. Katie Walsh, now living safely on Earth, had sent him a drawing she made. It showed the Thunderstrike surrounded by stars with the words, "Thank you for not giving up," written in colorful letters. The galaxy was very different now. The Zephyrian Empire was gone, replaced by a new galactic alliance where all species were equal partners. Trade and knowledge flowed freely between worlds that had once been enemies. Ben Taylor walked onto the bridge carrying a datapad. Captain, we just received a message from the Alliance Council. They want to know if you'll accept the position of first human representative. Jake smiled. Tell them I'm honored, but I think I'll stay right here. The galaxy is peaceful now, but peace needs to be protected. Through the bridge windows, Jake could see dozens of ships from different species flying together in formation. Humans, Altarians, Corvani, and even reformed Zephyrians worked side by side. Amy Brooks looked up from her station. Captain, I'm receiving a priority message from Earth. Admiral Parker wants to congratulate us again on our victory. Tell the Admiral thank you, Jake said, and remind him that we didn't win this alone. Every species that joined the rebellion, every ship that came to help us, they all made this victory possible. Jake had learned something important during the battle. Courage was contagious. When one person refused to give up, others found the strength to keep fighting too. The Thunderstrike had shown the galaxy that even the smallest force could make a difference if it fought for what was right. The stars looked peaceful again, but now they shone with the light of freedom. And somewhere among those stars, other species would remember the lesson of the single human warship that made an entire empire kneel. The Thunderstrike shook as another enemy blast hit the shields. Captain Jake Morrison held onto his chair as sparks flew from damaged control panels. The ship had been fighting for 18 hours straight. His crew was tired, but they refused to give up. Shields at 15%, Lisa Carter called out. Her voice was hoarse from shouting orders to her repair teams. I'm doing everything I can, but we're taking too much damage. Jake looked at the tactical display. The screen showed thousands of red dots surrounding them. Admiral Vexithara had brought her entire reserve fleet as promised. 5,000 Zephyrian ships now filled the space around the asteroid field. "How many have we destroyed?" Jake asked. Ryan Hughes checked his instruments. 837 enemy ships confirmed destroyed, Captain, but they keep sending more. 800 ships. Jake felt proud of his crew. No other ship in history had destroyed so many enemies, but it still was not enough. For every ship they destroyed, 10 more took its place. "Captain, incoming message," Amy Brooks said. She looked exhausted, but her hands still moved quickly over her controls. "It's not from the Zephyrians. It's coming from the Corvani home world. Put it through." A new alien face appeared on the screen. This creature had blue skin and large silver eyes. When it spoke, its voice was high and musical. "Human Captain, I am Elder Zenth of the Corvani people. We have done as you asked. Our fleet has attacked 3 Zephyrian supply bases. We destroyed them all." Jake felt a moment of hope. "What about other species?" "The rebellion spreads like fire across the galaxy," the alien said. 47 worlds have declared independence from the Empire. The Zephyrians are sending ships to fight the rebels. They cannot keep all their forces here to fight you. That was good news, but Jake could see it was not enough. Even with ships being pulled away to fight rebellions, there were still thousands of enemy vessels around his position. "Sir, I'm reading massive energy buildup from the Zephyrian flagship," Chris Miller announced. His sensor readings showed dangerous levels of power gathering in the largest enemy ship. On the main screen, Admiral Vexithara appeared again. The alien looked furious. Her gray skin was darker than before, and her black eyes burned with anger. "Captain Morrison, you have caused enough trouble. My empire is cracking because of your stupid resistance, but I will end this now. I am charging my ship's planet killer weapon. In 10 minutes I will fire it at your position. Nothing will survive." Jake felt cold fear run through his body. A planet killer weapon could destroy entire worlds. His ship's shields would not protect them from something that powerful. "There is still time to surrender," the Admiral continued. "Give up now, and I will make your death quick." Jake stood up straight. "No deal. Humans don't surrender." The alien Admiral made an angry sound and cut the transmission. 10 minutes, Ben Taylor said quietly. "Captain, maybe it's time to try to escape." Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They had fought bravely for almost a day. They had inspired a galactic rebellion. Maybe they had done enough. But then Katie Walsh's face came into his mind. The little girl they had rescued from Planet Haven. Her parents were dead because of the Zephyrian Empire. Thousands of other human families had been killed. If he ran now, more would die. "No," Jake said firmly. "We stay and fight." "Lisa, is there any way to boost our weapons?" The chief engineer shook her head. "Captain, we've used all our tricks. We have 2 modified torpedoes left. After that, we'll have to use regular weapons." "What about ramming speed?" Tony Evans suggested. The security chief had been working non-stop to keep the ship together. "We could try to crash into their flagship." Jake considered this. It would be a suicide attack, but it might destroy the planet killer weapon before it could fire. "Captain, wait!" Rachel Green called out from her computer station. "I'm reading something strange. The Zephyrian ships are having communication problems. Their network is being jammed somehow." "By who?" Jake asked. Amy's eyes went wide as she listened to her headphones. "Captain, I'm getting messages from everywhere. Alien rebel fleets are jumping into this star system. They're coming to help us." The main screen changed to show long-range sensors. Jake could hardly believe what he saw. Hundreds of alien ships were appearing out of hyperspace. They had different shapes and sizes, but they all had one thing in common. They were attacking the Zephyrian fleet. "This is Commander Erix of the Alterian Navy," a new voice said over the communication system. "We fight with the humans. For freedom." "Corvani battle fleet arriving," said another voice. We stand with the brave human ship. More voices joined in. Species that Jake had never heard of were announcing their arrival. The space around the asteroid field became a massive battle as rebel fleets engaged the Zephyrian Empire. "Captain, the enemy is breaking formation," Ryan reported with excitement in his voice. "They're having to split their forces to fight all the rebel ships." Jake watched the tactical display change. The thousands of red dots that had surrounded his ship were now spread out across the entire star system. The Zephyrians were fighting battles on dozens of fronts at once. "The planet killer weapon," Jake said urgently. "Is it still charging?" Chris checked his sensors. "Yes, sir, but the flagship is under attack now. 3 rebel fleets are targeting it directly." Admiral Vexus Thera's face appeared on screen again. This time she looked desperate instead of angry. Behind her, Jake could see Zephyrian officers running around in panic. "This is impossible," the Admiral said. "My empire has ruled for 1,000 years. How can one human ship cause all this?" "Because freedom is stronger than fear," Jake replied. "Your empire ruled by making others afraid. But when people stop being afraid, empires fall." The Admiral's ship shook as rebel weapons hit it. Lights flickered on her bridge. "Even if my ship is destroyed, other admirals will continue the fight. The Empire will survive." "No, it won't," Jake said. He could see the truth in the alien's eyes. "Your empire is finished. Your own admirals are probably already thinking about surrendering." As if to prove his point, Amy suddenly straightened up. "Captain, I'm receiving surrender offers from multiple." "Zephyrian fleet commanders! They want to negotiate!" Admiral Vexthera's face twisted with rage. "Never! I will destroy this entire system before I surrender to inferior species." Her ship's planet-killer weapon was almost fully charged. Jake could see the energy readings climbing toward dangerous levels. If that weapon fired, it would destroy everything in the area, including the rebel fleets that had come to help. "Telgs, rebel ships, this is Captain Morrison," Jake broadcast on all frequencies. "The flagship is about to fire a planet-killer weapon. All ships need to get clear of this area immediately." But then something unexpected happened. Dr. Helen Parker's voice came over the ship's internal communication system. "Captain, Katie Walsh wants to speak to you. She says it's important." Jake was confused. What could the little girl want in the middle of a battle? But something in the doctor's voice made him listen. "Put her through to my personal communicator," he said. Katie's small voice came through clearly. "Captain Morrison, I remember something else about the scary aliens. Their big ships have a weak spot. My daddy was an engineer before they killed him. He told me their power cores are not protected very well." Jake felt hope rise in his chest. "Where exactly, Katie? Right under the main gun? If you hit it there, the whole ship will blow up." Jake looked at the tactical display. The Zephyrian flagship was huge, but Katie was right. There was a small section underneath the planet-killer weapon that showed different energy readings. "Ryan, can you target that spot?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir, but we'd have to get very close, and we only have 2 torpedoes left." Jake made his decision. "Do it. Take us in." Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Thunderstrike, staring at the tactical display. Red dots filled the screen, each one representing an enemy ship. There were so many that they looked like a red cloud moving through space toward his position. "How many ships are we looking at?" Jake asked. Ryan Hughes checked his instruments twice before answering. 500 ships, Captain. Maybe more. They're still coming out of hyperspace." Jake felt his mouth go dry. 500 ships against 1. Even the most powerful human warship could not fight those odds and win, but running away meant leaving other human colonies to die. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission," Amy Brooks said. Her hands shook slightly as she worked her controls. "Put it on screen." The main display changed to show an alien face. The creature had gray skin and large black eyes. Its mouth was full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and cold. "Human vessel, I am Admiral Vexathara of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your ship immediately. Your species has been ordered to leave this sector of space. You have 29 days remaining. Jake stepped forward. This is Captain Morrison of the Earth Space Navy. We will not surrender. We will not abandon our colonies. The alien's eyes narrowed. Then you will die. Your single ship against my fleet. How foolish. Maybe, Jake said, but we'll make you pay for every human life you've taken. Admiral Vexathara made a sound that might have been laughter. Attack formation. Destroy the human ship. The screen went black. Jake turned to his crew. Every face looked back at him with determination. They were scared, but they would not run. All stations, battle alert, Jake ordered. Lisa, how are our experimental weapons? Lisa Carter looked up from her engineering station. The quantum torpedoes are ready, Captain. We have 12 shots. The adaptive shielding is online and responding. Well, Ryan, what's our best strategy? The tactical officer studied his screens. The asteroid field near here could give us cover. We can use the rocks to break up their formations, make them come at us in smaller groups. Do it, Jake said. Emma, take us into the asteroid field. Maximum speed. The Thunderstrike turned and dove toward a field of floating rocks. Some asteroids were as big as cities. Others were small as houses. The ship moved between them like a fish swimming through a coral reef. Zephyrian ships are following us, Chris Miller reported from his sensor station. He was a quiet man with brown hair who rarely spoke unless he had important information. They're having trouble staying in formation. The asteroids are forcing them to spread out. Good, Jake said. Let's give them something to think about. Ryan, target the lead ships. Fire quantum torpedoes. Bright blue lights shot out from the Thunderstrike. The new weapons moved faster than normal torpedoes and hit harder. The first torpedo struck a Zephyrian ship, and the vessel exploded in a ball of white fire. The second and third shots destroyed 2 more ships. Direct hits, Ryan announced. 3 enemy ships destroyed. The bridge crew cheered, but Jake stayed focused. That's 3 down, 497 to go. Amy, try to contact the other human colonies. Warn them what's coming. Yes, sir, Amy said. Her fingers flew over her controls. The Zephyrian ships fired back. Red energy beams cut through space toward the Thunderstrike. Most missed, hitting asteroids instead. The rocks exploded into dust and smaller pieces. Shields at 90%, Lisa reported. The adaptive system is working. It's learning how to stop their weapons. Ben Taylor moved to stand beside Jake. Captain, we can't win this fight. There are too many of them. I know, Jake said quietly. But maybe we can hurt them enough to make them think twice about attacking Earth. The battle continued as the Thunderstrike moved deeper into the asteroid field. The human ship was faster and smarter than the alien vessels. Jake's crew used every trick they knew. They hid behind large asteroids and fired surprise attacks. They used the ship's smaller size to move through spaces the bigger alien ships could not follow. Captain, I'm detecting something strange, Chris said. The Zephyrian ships are using a new formation. They're trying to surround us. Jake looked at the tactical display. The enemy ships were moving to block all the exits from the asteroid field. Soon there would be nowhere to run. Emma, find us the densest part of the asteroid field, Jake ordered. If they want to surround us, let's make them work for it. The navigation officer's hands moved quickly. There's a section 2 kilometers ahead. The asteroids are packed tight together. Some of their ships won't be able to follow us. Take us there. Full speed. The Thunderstrike shot forward between the floating rocks. Behind them, the Zephyrian. Ships followed. Several alien vessels crashed into asteroids when they tried to turn too quickly. The explosions lit up the darkness of space. We're getting close to that dense section, Emma reported. I'm reading some unusual energy from the largest asteroid ahead. It might be radioactive. Can we use that? Jake asked. Lisa checked her instruments. If we overload our engine core near that asteroid, we could create a chain reaction. The radiation would damage any ships in the area. How badly would it damage us? Our shields should protect us if we time it right, but it's risky. Jake thought for a moment. Through the bridge windows, he could see the enemy ships getting closer. There were so many that their lights looked like a moving constellation. Do it, he decided. Get us close to that asteroid. Prepare to overload the engines on my command. The Thunderstrike moved toward the large spinning rock. The Zephyrian ships followed, thinking they had trapped the human vessel. Admiral Vexithara's voice came over the communication system again. You cannot escape, human. Surrender now and your death will be quick. Jake smiled grimly. Amy, open a channel to all enemy ships. Channel open, sir. Admiral Vexithara, this is Captain Morrison. You want to know what makes humans dangerous? We don't know when to quit. Lisa. Now! The ship's engines flared bright white. Energy poured into the radioactive asteroid. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the giant rock exploded in a burst of radiation and fire. The explosion caught 50 Zephyrian ships that had been following too closely. Their shields failed and their hulls melted. The alien vessels spun out of control, crashing into each other and into other asteroids. 50 enemy ships destroyed, Ryan announced with satisfaction. The others are pulling back. Jake nodded. They had hurt the enemy, but the fight was far from over. Hundreds of alien ships still surrounded them, and now they were trapped in the asteroid field with nowhere to run. Status report, Jake ordered. Shields at 60%, Lisa said. Engines running hot but stable. We have 8 quantum torpedoes left. Jake looked at his crew. They had fought well and shown the aliens that humans would not give up easily. But the real battle was just beginning. The stars looked peaceful from the bridge of the UES Thunderstrike. Captain Jake Morrison stood near the large windows, watching the distant lights twinkle in the darkness of space. His ship was one of the most powerful vessels in the human fleet. It was long and gray, with heavy armor and weapons that could destroy entire enemy squadrons. Jake had been captain for 5 years. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. His crew trusted him completely. They had fought together in many battles and always came home safe. Today felt different, though. Something was wrong in the outer rim of human space. Captain, we are getting a signal, said Amy Brooks from her station. She was the communications officer, a young woman with red hair and green eyes. She wore the blue uniform of the Earth Space Navy. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she tried to clear up the message. What kind of signal? Jake asked. He walked over to her station. The bridge was quiet, except for the soft humming of the ship's engines. Other crew members watched from their posts. It's a distress call, sir, Amy said. Her face looked worried. It's coming from Planet Haven. The signal is very weak and broken up. Jake knew about Planet Haven. It was a small human colony on the edge of known space. About 3,000 people lived there. They grew food and mined minerals. It was a peaceful place where families went to start new lives away from the crowded worlds near Earth. How far away are we? Jake asked. 2 hours at full speed, replied Emma Stone. She was the navigation officer, a woman with black hair and brown eyes. She had been with the crew for 3 years. Her job was to make sure the ship went where it needed to go. Set course for Planet Haven, Jake ordered. Full speed! The ship turned and its engines roared louder. Jake felt the deck vibrate under his feet. He had a bad feeling about this mission. Distress calls from the outer colonies usually meant pirates or equipment failures. But something about this signal felt different. Sir, I'm trying to contact the colony directly, Amy said, but I'm not getting any response. Lisa Carter looked up from her engineering station. She was the chief engineer, a smart woman with blonde hair and blue eyes. She kept the ship running no matter what happened. Captain, all systems are working fine. The problem is not on our end. Jake nodded. Keep trying to reach them. The next 2 hours felt very long. The crew worked quietly at their stations. Ryan Hughes, the tactical officer, checked the ship's weapon systems. He was a big man with dark skin and serious eyes. His job was to protect the ship in battle. Dr. Helen Parker walked onto the bridge. She was the chief medical officer, a kind woman with gray hair and gentle hands. "Captain, I've prepared the medical bay. If there are injured people on the planet, we'll be ready to help them." "Thank you, Doctor," Jake said. He appreciated how his crew always thought ahead. "Planet Haven coming into view," Emma announced. The main screen showed a blue and green world with white clouds. It looked beautiful and peaceful. But as they got closer, Jake could see something was terribly wrong. Black smoke rose from several areas on the surface. There were no lights from the cities. "Amy, scan for life signs," Jake ordered. The young woman worked at her controls. Her face grew pale. "Captain, I'm reading very few human life signs. Maybe 20 or 30 people. There should be 3,000. Jake felt cold inside. "Take us into orbit. Get me a visual of the main settlement." The screen changed to show the colony's main town. What Jake saw made his stomach sick. Buildings were destroyed and burning. Streets were empty except for bodies. The beautiful farms around the town were ruined. Everything was dead. "Dear God," whispered Ben Taylor, the second in command. He was Jake's oldest friend, a man with brown hair and kind eyes. They had served together for 10 years. "Sir, I'm picking up one strong life sign," Amy said. "It's coming from the emergency shelter near the school." "Prepare a shuttle," Jake ordered. "Ben, Lisa, Ryan, come with me. Dr. Parker, get ready to treat survivors." The shuttle ride to the planet's surface was quiet. Jake looked out the window at the destruction below. Who could have done this? The colony had no enemies. They were farmers and miners, not soldiers. The emergency shelter was a small metal building built into a hill. It was designed to protect people during storms or accidents. Jake and his team found the door and opened it carefully. Inside, they found a little girl. She was maybe 8 years old with brown hair and scared eyes. She was dirty and hungry. When she saw the humans in Earth Space Navy uniforms, she started to cry. "It's okay," Dr. Parker said softly. She had come down with the second shuttle. "We're here to help you. What's your name?" "Katie Walsh," the girl whispered. "Are my mom and dad okay?" Jake felt his heart break. He knelt down next to Katie. "Where are your parents, sweetie?" "The scary aliens took them away," Katie said. "They said bad things would happen if anyone tried to hide. Mom put me in here and told me to wait for help." "What did these aliens look like?" Jake asked gently. Katie closed her eyes tight. "They were tall and had gray skin. Their ships were big and black. They had red lights. The leader had a scary voice. He said all humans had to leave this part of space or they would all die." Jake looked at his team. None of them had heard of aliens like this. Humans had met several alien species, but most were friendly, or at least peaceful. "Did they say anything else?" Ben asked. Katie nodded. "The scary one said his empire was coming, for all human worlds. He said we had 30 days to leave or they would destroy everything." Jake stood up slowly. An empire. That meant these aliens had many worlds and many ships. If they could destroy a whole colony this easily, they were very dangerous. "Amy," Jake said into his communication device. "Contact Earth Command immediately. Priority 1 emergency message." Back on the ship, Jake sat in his captain's chair. Katie was safe in the medical bay with Dr. Parker. The little girl was the only survivor of 3,000 people. An entire colony wiped out in hours. "Captain," Amy said. Her voice was shaky. "I'm getting reports from other colonies. 3 more settlements have gone dark in the last day. No response to any calls." Jake felt the weight of command on his shoulders. Somewhere out there, an alien empire was destroying human worlds. They had given humanity 30 days to surrender. Jake looked at the stars outside his ship. Soon, those stars might belong to aliens who killed children and destroyed peaceful colonies. The war was coming whether humans wanted it or not. 2 weeks after the encounter with the Zephyrian patrol ships, Jake stood in the largest meeting room he had ever seen. The Galactic Council chamber was enormous, with seats for representatives from 50 different species. Curved walls rose up like the inside of a giant bowl, and every seat faced the center where Jake now waited. Above the chamber, through a massive transparent dome, Jake could see Titan floating in space. The ship looked beautiful and dangerous at the same time. Its hull gleamed with metal from a dozen different worlds, and its weapons were clearly visible to anyone who cared to look. Admiral Rodriguez stood beside Jake, wearing her best uniform with all her medals. Behind them, Dr. Lisa Carter, Chief Engineer Pete Sullivan, and Lieutenant Amy Brooks waited nervously. They had never been in a place like this before. The chamber filled with aliens of every shape and size. Tall blue Zephyrians in their fancy uniforms. Short gray Velkari with their glowing eyes, massive Corellians covered in natural armor, insect-like Mantarans clicking and buzzing to each other, and dozens of other species that Jake had only seen in pictures. At the center of the curved seating area sat Chancellor Vexhai of the Zephyrian Empire. He was the most powerful alien in the galaxy, and he looked very unhappy. His blue skin seemed darker than usual, and his large black eyes stared at Jake with obvious anger. "The emergency session of the Galactic Council will now begin," announced a mechanical voice that translated into every language in the galaxy. "The matter before us today is the unauthorized development of advanced military technology by the human species." Chancellor Vexhai stood up, his tall frame towering over the other representatives. "Honored delegates, we are here because the humans have violated countless technology transfer agreements. They have combined restricted systems from multiple species without permission. They have created a warship that threatens the established order of our galaxy." Jake listened as the Chancellor spoke, but he was not worried. He had expected this reaction. For centuries, the alien species had believed they were superior to humans. Now that belief was being challenged, and they did not like it. A Velkari representative stood up next. "The humans received our technology as aid donations. Those materials were clearly marked as non-military salvage. They were never intended for weapons development." Amy whispered to Jake. "Non-military salvage? Those were weapon parts and armor plating." Jake nodded but stayed quiet. He would get his chance to speak soon. A Mantaran delegate buzzed loudly. Through the translator, Jake heard, "The humans have shown dangerous disregard for proper technology protocols. No species should combine systems from different civilizations. It is unstable and unpredictable." More aliens spoke, all saying similar things. The humans had broken rules, the humans had been dishonest, the humans could not be trusted with advanced technology. Jake listened patiently, but inside he was getting angry. Finally, Chancellor Vexhai gestured for silence. "Captain Morrison, you may now explain your actions to this council." Jake stepped forward and looked up at all the alien faces staring down at him. Some looked angry, some looked curious, and some looked afraid. Good. They should be afraid. "Honored delegates," Jake began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's sound system. "For the past 3 years, you have been very generous with your donations to humanity. We want you to know that every piece of technology has been greatly appreciated." He touched a control on his tablet, and a holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed detailed images of all the alien scrap that had been delivered to human space. "This is what you called worthless junk," Jake said. "Broken weapons, damaged hull plating, burned out power cores. You threw these things away because they had minor problems that you considered too expensive or too difficult to fix." The hologram changed to show Titan's construction process. Aliens throughout the chamber leaned forward to get a better look. But humans see things differently. When something breaks, we fix it. When something is incomplete, we finish it. When things don't work together, we make them work together. Dr. Carter stepped forward. Honored delegates, every single component aboard our vessel was obtained legally through your own disposal and aid programs. We have detailed records of every transaction. You gave us this technology freely, with no restrictions on how we could use it. Chancellor Vexhigh's voice was sharp with anger. You were expected to use those materials for basic tools and simple repairs, not for building warships that threaten galactic stability. Jake smiled. Chancellor, nowhere in any of your donation agreements did you specify how we could use the materials. You assumed we were too primitive to do anything meaningful with them. Admiral Rodriguez stepped forward. The Galactic Council has consistently underestimated human capabilities. You assumed that because we lack the industrial capacity to build everything from scratch, we lack the intelligence to improve what already exists. Pete could not stay quiet any longer. With respect, honored delegates, you've been wasting incredible technology for centuries. You throw away perfectly good equipment because one small part breaks. You never try to combine different systems because you think your way is the only right way, Amy added. We took your garbage and made it better than anything you're currently using. Maybe the problem is not with human technology. Maybe the problem is with alien thinking. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Aliens stood up and shouted at each other in dozens of different languages. The translator system could barely keep up with all the noise. Chancellor Vexhigh raised his hand for silence. Even if your actions were technically legal, you have created a dangerous precedent. Other primitive species might follow your example. Jake's eyes flashed with anger. Primitive species? Chancellor. 3 of your most advanced patrol ships could not even damage our hull. Your weapons could not penetrate our shields. Your fastest ships could not escape our pursuit. Who exactly is primitive here? The chamber fell silent. Every alien in the room had heard the reports from Commander Veldak. 3 Zephyrian military vessels defeated by 1 human ship in less than 5 minutes. It was the most humiliating defeat in Zephyrian history. A Corellian delegate spoke up. What do you want from this council, humans? Jake looked around the chamber. We want to be treated as equals. For too long, you have seen us as charity cases who should be grateful for your leftover scraps. But we have proven that human ingenuity can accomplish things you never imagined possible. Lisa stepped forward with her data tablet. We propose a new relationship. Instead of receiving your discarded waste, we would like to work together as partners. Human engineers could help improve your existing fleets, while you could provide us with raw materials for new construction. Pete nodded enthusiastically. Think about it. We could help you build ships that are faster, stronger, and more efficient than anything you have now. All we ask in return is to be treated with respect. Chancellor Vexhigh considered this carefully. Around the chamber, other delegates whispered among themselves. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted, and everyone knew it. What guarantees do we have that human technology will not be used against us? The Chancellor asked. Amy looked up at him with a slight smile. Sir, with respect, you have seen what we can do with your garbage. Do you really want to find out what we could accomplish if we became your enemies? Lieutenant Colonel Steve Murphy, who had been quiet until now, added, Honored delegates, cooperation benefits everyone. Conflict benefits no one. We prefer to work together, but we are prepared to stand alone if necessary. The chamber was quiet for a long time. Finally, Chancellor Vexhigh stood up again. The Galactic Council will consider your proposal. In the meantime, the human vessel will be granted full diplomatic immunity and recognition as a legitimate military craft. Jake felt a surge of satisfaction. Thank you, Chancellor. We look forward to a new era of cooperation. As the council session ended, Jake looked up through the dome at Titan floating in space. The ship that had started as a desperate gamble had become the symbol of humanity's place in the galaxy. 6 months later, human-alien engineering teams were working together on dozens of projects throughout the galaxy. New ship designs combined. The best ideas from multiple species. Technology that had been stagnant for centuries suddenly leaped forward. And at the center of it all, Titan patrolled the space lanes as both protector and reminder. The aliens had given humans scrap, expecting nothing in return. Instead, humanity had given the galaxy something it never expected, proof that innovation and determination could overcome any obstacle. The ship built from garbage had become the foundation for a new age of galactic cooperation. And every time an alien commander saw Titan on their sensors, they remembered an important lesson. Never underestimate what humans can accomplish when they put their minds to it.